So here we go. We're recording. All right, I'm going to play the theme song, do the intros for everybody. Whoa, that's kind of loud. Jive loud.
Yeah. Be careful with my ears. I'm wearing headphones now.
Okay, sorry, bro. Welcome to Ain't Shit News. Our host, Eric, is out because he's getting that booty tonight. His wedding got canceled, so he had to put the work in. So it's me and John tonight. We are our other host, John Kwamya's in the house, real estate mogul and budding photographer and resident libertarian. And we got a special guest, Charles Lamar, IT mogul and general commentator on all things hilarious. I'm your soundboard man, DJ Two Coats, and I'm definitely full of shit, as this is Ain't Shit News. So welcome to the program, everybody. I obviously have some topics, but I don't want to jump straight into the politics and the quarantine. So I'm just gonna ask, what's up with y'all? What's good?
I mean, it's all politics and quarantine. That's all we got.
I mean, that's the shame of it. I don't know. Baltimore's Baltimore. I spent the day taking pictures, so that's as good as it gets.
Yeah.
I don't think this thing's gonna hold. I was out there, and everybody was out there with me. It was like one of those things, where you're not supposed to be somewhere, and everyone else isn't supposed to be there. And they're like, "Why are you out?" Well, why are you out? And I saw pictures of the mall today, and everybody's out.
I was just gonna say that. I'm gonna punch that picture up.
Yeah, it's springtime. People don't give a fuck. And honestly, I don't blame them. So, yeah, go outside, get some sun, get your immune system back up. Quit acting like a sardine.
Yeah, let's take a look at the picture here for the.
Yeah, that also, if you really want people to stay inside, which I'm not sure everybody does, why have a fucking air show?
Ding, ding, ding.
If you really want people to stay inside, pick the only thing that you literally have to be outside to view.
Well, that's the other thing is that they're like, oh, it's for the frontline workers, and I'm like, dude, the fucking
they're working.
The nurse is stuck on a 12-hour shift.
Yeah,
your planes are gonna fly over for 15 seconds. I'm like, I would rather them have more masks or hazard pay, something that's gonna actually help them. But I've never been like, oh man, these jets flew over. I'm so emotional right now.
Yeah, because you're not from fucking Kansas.
Like the breakdown of the people who get that fly over and does something to their heart and pulls on their heartstrings, gets them a little weepy for America.
I always thought the Blue Angels were cool growing up, but that's because part of me thought at some point I would get to be in the plane. When that possibility disappeared, I stopped looking up at the sky for fucking chemtrails. I stopped watching Alex Jones and shit.
I mean, I always loved the Blue Angels. I just thought it was tight. But
it's
the
awesome.
other thing is it's purely promotional. It's just a recruiting thing. It's not like the guys flying over Afghanistan. I mean, you do have to be a baller pilot to even get there.
Yeah, 100%.
But it's just promotions, right?
It's just part of that, military show force / entertainment.
I mean, dude, I went to an air show when I was a kid, and I thought that shit was the tits, dude.
They're dope. There was what they used to have. The small planes, the little biplanes, and they come in real low. That's the best part of an air show. I get the Blue Angels doing their tricks up there, but the barn burners or whatever they are, the ones that come down, yeah, that's the real air show. But yeah, I think there's enough conflicting information, enough where people are just kind of they're gonna be out there, and I wish people had just been given like straight up information from the start instead of trying to like scare the shit out of them into not interacting with people at all. Because then you're going to get this, and then you're going to get a spike, and then you're going to get people going, well, we told you so. You should just listen to us from the start, where it's like it's half in, half out. It's true and it's not true. You know, I've been working this whole time. There was a little while where I was like, well, why am I expendable? Why are so many other people expendable to make sure things are happening? And it's like, if people had been honest with the information and given everybody the ability to make intelligent decisions based off that information, I don't think you'd see the clustering and all that shit from everybody. And if you did, you'd see people who are changing their response based off of the consequences of those actions. But right now, it's really antagonistic. It's us versus them. It's this and that, and nobody's listening to anybody. So, yeah.
All right, Chuck, I know you have some thoughts on us. Lay it on us, brother.
So I think honestly, this has been kind of like a chicken coming home to roost moment. That like we've been playing this dangerous game of facts and truth.
Yep.
For so long that like we're always going to get to the point where like we are counting on the facts and truth. And you're playing so fast and loose with it about, you know, where you sourcing your news from, where you sourcing this information from.
Yeah.
And I just feel like it was only a matter of time to get here. And there are people who could give a fuck what the scientists have to say because they feel something different.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I'm not super optimistic. You know, we just went out and tried to do get some fresh air, you know, try to be socially distanced. And it's a whole park full of people. So good luck.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, it says some things about human nature, that how communal we are innately, that we need people, we need to be around people. And it's been interesting seeing with the being forced to not be around. It's kind of been like a nice reminder of like how much we, you know, need each other. But yeah, I feel like, you know, to quote Brother Malcolm, this is the chicken coming home to roost. And like, you know, you can't be mad when you do all the stuff and, you know, the results come.
I agree with you 100% because, you know, we can get into the red versus blue of it, but I really blame one organization or one group of people more than any other in this country. And I went to school to be a journalist, and that was with the idea that you'd be reporting on things vital to the population or vital to citizens to understand and navigate the world better. And it's like you say, for the last 20 years, I don't think the news has gotten better at that.
No. It's almost back to, it's cycled back to like the yellow journalism in some sense, right?
Yeah. And maybe even more dangerous because the reach is further than back in the day with yellow journalism, you know.
Yeah. Well, there's a broader pipeline in the accessibilities more, but you know, what Pulitzer did with the Spanish-American War was, I mean, he built that war from fucking nothing.
Yeah, so did George W.
Yeah, no, totally. I don't disagree at all. And
yeah.
I mean, there's several chickens coming home to roost. One, the weaknesses in our society are now being brought to the forefront, especially with the healthcare system, the economics, the disparity between the rich and the poor. Also, furthermore, I think that even you go to 2019, right? Because of this virus, we live more in the digital age now than we did the year before. Like, yes, we had the internet since 92, 96, whenever you want to place it, right? We had cat videos, we had all that stuff. But this is like America's Arab Spring moment where it actually fucking matters because we need this shit as a resource now. We need it for our schools. We need it for our work. Now it's a necessary resource. You know what I mean? Such to the point that you see a lot of people online being like, I mean, for instance, Verizon, right? Verizon gave out, in the first month, they gave out 5 free gigs to everybody on their data plan.
I got like 10.
Right.
From Cricket.
And then 2 months later, it was 15.
Yeah.
So it's like even
like
they
30 total.
they understand that it's just like, you know, people that are, for instance, in D.C., right, that don't necessarily have an internet connection. They need that data to in order for their kids to participate in learning. So I think this is the digital age now. Like all that singularity, you know, we're gonna fuck robots, we're gonna upload our minds into the cloud. That's all bullshit. It's the virus that truly made us a digital age. Please discuss.
Well, so for work, I work for what's called a managed service provider. So we do outsource IT for companies that don't have in-house IT.
Mm-hmm.
We're probably a smaller boutique shop.
Oh no.
But all in all, about 45 clients, ranging between 5 to 100 people. And this idea of like, and you know, every year we do our due diligence, and we're like, hey, here's some projects that you guys should be thinking about to kind of keep your technology moving forward. And to watch everyone scramble
to do the things you were saying 2 years ago.
Yeah, and they're like, "Oh shit, we need to do it now."
Yep.
And for us, we've been busier than normal, and everyone realizes like your IT needs are important.
Yep.
When you need them.
Yeah. Like on the other end of that, I agree with what you're saying. What all of this is doing is forcing us to look at our weaknesses. And as much as we're getting more digital, the real world requirements haven't gone anywhere. So it's like the thing, like I'm a property manager, so I'm watching the real estate part of it. And they just proposed a bill that would essentially nullify property rights in America.
Jesus Christ.
I know. So basically what they're saying is, as a property owner, you know, tenants could sit there, no rent paid, whatever. And the little caveat is that you'd have your mortgage, you know, forgiven, but you'd still have the responsibilities of a property manager and like landlord for these people who don't have to go anywhere, don't have to pay you anything, don't contribute anything, but they're still your responsibility, which is a nightmare. And like, I am hoping that this is laughed out of Congress, just like the Green New Deal and all the other bullshit things that they put up front. And they're just like, this is going to push us into the future. And like, but if you read it, you're just like,
if you actually read it.
Yeah, there is no upside to owning any property. It's all government managed because they will always come in and decide what happens to it. And you know, when this first started happening, they started doing the rent forgiveness, I started to think about that stuff. I'm like, the same way you're saying it'll force us to do more with our technology, it'll also force a lot of people to start saying that the responsibilities need to be given to agencies. instead of our personal responsibility.
Well, okay, so right, you can't have rent forgiveness if you don't also have mortgage forgiveness, right?
Yeah, but both of those should not be long-term things in any
No,
kind.
no. I mean,
Yeah,
I
but
want to bring
they're
attention to this concept I got up here on the board, which is it's the French word for meaning end of a century, and that's kind of where I think that we're at right when I'm talking about this digital shit. And it's basically the idea is that it's a transition, the closing of one era and the onset of another, right? And this term, the fin de siècle, which is a French term, it more refers to the end of the 19th century going into the 20th. But I do think that that's kind of what's going on, right? Because the flaws that are in the system that are revealed by the virus shows those long-term problems, which, for instance, like on your post earlier, John, in Facebook, you were talking about, big government, right? And I was like, fuck these Republicans. And you were like, well, okay, who voted for it, right? And so I went and looked it up. And there's only two people that are on record, or at least sort of shadow record, because the motherfuckers did a voice vote.
They just slipped it through.
Yeah.
And
no different than the Patriot Act, right?
Exactly. Every year it gets renewed. Blue or red in charge, majority, minority, whatever. It gets just slipped right through.
Yeah. I mean, the way in which the Democrats, at least the Democrats that are the ones that are high up in the party, they're such whores for like the big business donors, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Well, I mean, they all are, because like I think I've read, and right now I'm pulling the number out of my ass. So like, I don't know if you want to research, but the amount of money it takes to run for public office now,
it's astronomical.
Let's look it up.
It's almost impossible to do it without it.
Your whole job is a fundraiser.
Right.
Like, I remember when AOC first got into Congress, she got into trouble because she wasn't bringing in her bag, basically. And she had to be sat down and said, hey.
Yeah, they have a room.
This is the organization. It's like being a Girl Scout and not selling your cookies, Like, you sell those fucking tag-alongs and you bring the money back.
Like, the merit badges are cool and whatever.
Yeah.
But we're here for these fucking cookies.
Yeah. I know you can tie a fucking knot. I saw it. Sell those cookies, bitch.
I don't give a shit if you can start a fire.
Oh, that's nice. Oh, did you get another? Shut. Give me that whole sash. Give me all your money. Give me your shoes. You walking home no shoes.
Oh, those are the federal contribution limits.
Oh yeah.
Okay, let's see. How much does it cost to run for
president? I think Obama's it. Well, how many? Was that the first $1 billion campaign?
I think it was.
Like 2012. I think that was the first $1 billion campaign.
Good God, look at these numbers.
Look at those numbers. And how much time do they spend running? Congress, you're in Congress. There's no term limits. Every 2 years, you do this. Every 2 years, you have to prepare for this.
So 2018, what is that? That's 5 billion. Is that billion?
That's billion.
Yeah.
That's disgusting.
But here's the thing. Like, I think... hold on.
Oh, we lost you for a second, Chuck.
Sorry about that.
No worries, no.
I think... So, right, big government versus small government, right? I think in places like this, and then also in the election, like at some point, like there is a role. I feel like there is a role for government. There's a place for government.
I do too.
And I think a bigger government can get some of the money out of government, but we'll never get to a point because the money's not coming from government.
The problem with money in government is because it's a big government. So a big government means they can do more things. So the problem is, say I'm a businessman and I want something done that I can't do. Well, who do you look to? You look to the government and you say, hey, you have this power, go do that for me, you know? And then they put more money in, they say, you're not going far enough, you need more power to serve me. And that's how government continues to expand and expand and expand. The way to limit how much money is in government is to limit what they're capable of doing. If there was never a point where the government could say, hey, we're going to ban these people from coming into our country, or hey, we're going to, you know, we're going to ban this, or we're going to ban that, or we're going to enact this. Like, if you limit it to exactly what they're supposed to do, which is just to protect us and oversee the contracts that we have with each other,
True.
then it really wouldn't matter, you know, who's in charge, because they would have a small, instead of a Batman like utility belt, they would have like the Tool Time Tim Allen tool belt, you know.
That's a really good analogy.
But I hear what you're saying, John.
Yeah.
But I feel like one of the things that like the COVID-19 pandemic has really shown me is that like I don't, the same way as a libertarian you distrust the government, I distrust the free market just as much. I don't think
free market. What
I mean,
market?
what aspect of it? What
Okay,
do you distrust companies? Do you distrust people? Because I distrust people, and that's why I don't want a big government. Because who populates a government?
So I would have 2 points there that I would bring up here, and I don't mean to interrupt, Chuck, but I would have 2 points. One, post-World War II industrial economy, right? My question to you would be, what is the minimum size of government that is necessary to get shit done? Because there's a sort of postmodern problem of man being stuck in this machine, right? That there's a lot of dangers out there. And the other thing is my question is that what free market? Because as we've seen in both 08 and with that CARES Act, it's always a free market when they're making profits.
Yeah.
But as soon as those motherfuckers are in trouble,
they go running to the government.
They go running to the government. But not only that, even Adam Smith said that you have to, the only way that there can be a free market is by external bodies regulating the fact that there's no fuckery. The only way you can guarantee contracts is by having regulation of contracts, right?
Yeah.
So that's all I have to say. You guys take it from there. Because what I would ask you as a libertarian, what is the minimum size of government in a post-World War II, postmodern industrial complex, right?
I don't want to steal too much from Chuck, but I just don't think it's like we're saying that we're finding out about ourselves and about our systems. I don't think that people would stand for a smaller government as a country at this point. The demands that they make because we're just as bad as any corporate entity. Anytime there's something wrong, we demand a new law, we demand a new regulation, we demand a new body put into place to oversee or to discuss, to do these really.
We want sorry to cut you off, John.
Yeah.
But I feel like we want smaller government. We just want government out of our shit. Go and get in that other dude's shit.
Yeah. You can be in my neighbor's ass, not realizing that as soon as you have the right to get in his ass, you have the right to get in mine. So all these people who are saying go arrest the protesters, who are protesters outside when they're saying stay inside, like the jumping jacks, the mental gymnastics, it drives me. It makes me laugh. It's hilarious.
But the guns the guns don't disturb you?
No, because one of the things everyone keeps bringing up is that the Black Panthers protested with guns, and I don't think
but they were also not treated the same way, right?
Exactly, but I'm saying they weren't wrong when they did it.
No, I don't think that they were.
And the Brown Act that came afterwards, that was wrong. So that's it. That illuminates exactly what I'm saying. If you have a right to something, everybody should have that right until you violate it.
Right.
And so if you're protesting, protest. Like, that's fine. I don't care. I was specifically just talking about they're not even those guys in Illinois. Just there's a bunch of goofballs on street corners, and there's a let us go outside protest, and then an anti let us go outside stay inside protest right across on the other side. And I'm like, none of you are practicing the guidelines. You're all outside, and you're all fucking just goofy. But that's the right of like free people. You can be as dumb or as goofy as you like. What is the number one show of this whole quarantine? It's Tiger King. That is the best advertisement for freedom in this country. And it's not, nobody's writing the Bill of Rights. They're fucking, shooting each other, having
discuss how
gay meth sex and all that crazy
shit. Dude, he convinced single men to not to be gay.
That is America.
That's just crazy. That's just crazy.
I mean,
that is America at the core.
I have heard that, that's like the challenge for the aggressive gay guy is to like turn someone. Right?
Yeah.
And it's like that fucking piece of shit who was turning dudes left and right. I mean,
God.
Okay, meth was involved, right?
Florida. We should start at the origin. It's Florida. Yeah. It's wild, but like you should be able to do whatever you want to do. Like with very, very little limits. And like when you were talking about governing bodies, I think if you were part of an institution, like a decent institution that really wanted to uphold the standards of your institution, you would self-regulate, and you would create a fraternity or a group with the people that upheld the same standards. So like on every appliance, what is it? UL? It's like the I forgot what what it stands for, but
United
it was like
Labor?
It was a private group. I'll look it up.
Oh,
but
no,
it's a private group that regulates like the quality of that appliance. I'm a realtor. I'm part of the NAR and GCAR, which are just basically little groups that keep people, trying to do the things that realtors do. Because even with all the rules, realtors are like fucking. We still have
it's a
reputation
for
as being
compressed
scumbags.
gas.
Nobody trusts them. But like, people trust IT because for the most part, IT guys do exactly what they're supposed to do, and they don't fuck around with anything else. They're not trying to get in there. They're not stealing your data or anything. For the most part, you guys just want to fix a problem and go away. Like, and I think to like bring the big government in smaller, if you could just do that with cops, a lot of our problems would go away.
Oh yeah.
Imagine if cops weren't, simultaneously trying to protect you, be babysitters, be therapists, be, the ones checking in on your grandma, all the stuff that we have just piled onto the back of cops in the last 60, 70 years, which cops never had to do before.
True.
And it's not exactly proven that they were pretty good at the stuff that they did before they had to do all this extra shit. Like, it just diffuses how good they can be at the serve and protect portion of it. Now they've got all kinds of sensitivity trainings and mandates, which don't actually make it better to be a cop. I'm in Baltimore. They've had a consent decree since before the riots, or no, since after the riots. So for 5 years, and nothing has gotten better.
Okay, so let's. I'm gonna play the theme song. We're gonna take a quick station break. I'm gonna restart the meeting because we're almost at the end of the 45-minute limit. But just give me 5 minutes and I'll reset up the meeting. I'll send you guys the message. Okay.
Okay.
When we get back, we have a lot of you make a lot of really good points, John. I have to say, especially when it comes to some of that policing stuff. And
yeah, and that's the stuff I wanted to get off. I wanted to talk a little bit more about Michigan.
Okay, that's what we'll do when we come right back. Thank you for joining us for Ancient News. We're going to go on the station break right here. My man Chuck Lamar in the house. Hardcore, reasonable ass. You about to convert me to libertarian with what the shit you've been saying, John.
Ooh.
Not me, John.
Lord and Lord.
Don't worry about it.
I never thought I would
just
say
keep
that
talking.
shit. We'll be right back with more Ancient News with my homies on this Saturday night. Hope you all are washing your hands, motherfuckers.
Yeah, wash your ass too.
We'll be right back in just 5 minutes. Okay. Brought to you by this dick.
You like Wendy's? You like Wendy's nuts smack you on it?
Okay, here we go. And we are back with part 2 of Ancient News. In the building, I got our host, John Kwamya. I am DJ Two Coats, and special guest, Charles Lamar, coming from the heart of the empire, the Imperium Quartum. And
I live in Rome.
We are back, and we are going to be discussing the Michigan situation. And I know you had some thoughts on that, Chuck, so go ahead and break us off to that shit right now.
All right, man. First thing I'm going to say is, did these guys have the right to do it? Yes. But the visuals, the optics of it, all of it, it is killing my hope for this country, bro. And I was talking to Joe before we started. Like, I just got back from overseas right before the quarantine started, like maybe a month before. And I'm new to overseas traveling, in adulthood.
John has also been to Spain. Yeah, you were in Barcelona, correct?
No, I've still never been to Spain, but I went to Iceland and England a couple years ago.
Oh, but you said you were at a Tomatillo.
That was in Seattle.
Okay. So the white people appropriated it. Okay. Continue.
Yeah, and then they got wrecked. But that was local.
So what? Finish your thought, Chuck. Didn't mean to.
So whenever I come back to the States, right, I'm almost hyper aware of what I feel are the problems, right?
The Americanness of things, right?
Of things, the things that are innately what I feel they're innately American issues, and this whole Michigan thing is a very much innately American thing. It's in our blood. If it was a person, it's going through your veins, like the snapshot of the angry white mob. And what's acceptable for the angry white mob, and what's acceptable for everyone else. Mm-hmm. And John earlier brought up the Black Panthers, and if I was a more radical cat, I'd be let's do that over again. Let's do that, because we have the right to. But when you have a system where one group is allowed to exercise their right and one group isn't, then does that second group even have the right if they're not allowed to exercise it? And I saw something today, and I totally get having the right to do stuff. But like, if you came to my door of my home with an AR-15 and you said you just coming to have a conversation, I'm not gonna rock with that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I would like to draw a distinguishment here, right? Because just because you have a right doesn't mean that you have to exercise it in just any old situation, right? So what I want to say about that is that somebody was posted on Facebook and they were like, oh, you know, it's not terrorism. What they're doing is totally legal. Okay, that's fine, right? I have a right to free speech. That doesn't mean that I just go around cursing and insulting people at random, because there would be real world consequences. People would be like, don't come back to this establishment, these sorts of things. That's their right too, right? So it's about optics, right? Like, yes, you can say, okay, you're allowed to legally, you know, carry a firearm, right? But when you congregate in that fashion, the perception by everybody on the outside is you're not just exercising your rights. You're intimidating motherfuckers. When you got people that are secretaries in the fucking state capitol building wearing bulletproof vests to work, it's not a peaceful protest if you show up with guns. You know what I mean? Like, why you got the guns?
I disagree there, because
well, I'm not saying that they don't have the right, though, John. I'm just saying.
Well,
like,
I'm taking it back further.
Right and wrong, and the difference between how you're perceived is that's a thick gap, right?
Well, that's the thing. Who gives a shit how you're perceived?
Well,
because here's the thing. I'm taking it back to Chuck. We should do what the Black Panthers do, because if you actually look at what they did, the groundwork for what they were and what they established is incredible. Okay? You have a disciplined group of men preaching positivity in a part of the world that needs it the most. They're making sure that children get fed. They're making sure that young men don't grow up in obscurity without direction. They're making sure that they can defend themselves. So yes, they were armed and they were knowledgeable with their arms. They could shoot them. They could carry them without the threat of accidental discharge. They were disciplined with their weapons. So that's the thing. You look at all those pictures, and I haven't really looked at the protests that are happening now, but you look at all of those old Black Panther pictures, and there's some real trigger discipline there. There's not anybody who's accidentally going to squeeze off, because they know the consequences and they know the limits of their laws.
What I'm saying is that they did that without the benefit of the whiteness, right?
So, but yeah, and that's the thing. They did it without consideration for the optics either.
They have a lasting. The reason why there is morning breakfast programs in public schools is because of the Black Panthers.
100%.
Because
but again,
they did that. So they also, not only did they exercise those armed rights, and if you look at the Black Panther manifesto, it's very basic, and there's nothing in there that anybody wouldn't agree with for their own community, right?
Same with Malcolm X. There's nothing in it that actually advocates for violence against any group.
Right, but you don't see any of that coming out of these groups that are in the Michigan protests. They're just like, we want to carry our guns and we want to scream at a bunch of people.
Well, here's the thing. What they're actually saying, and again, I try and give everybody the benefit of the doubt. And they are 100% right in that no mayor, no governor, no president has the right to actually do what is going on right now. Nobody can actually call a shutdown to your business on the scale that we're seeing. Nobody can tell you not to go to work. Nobody can do that. There's nowhere it's written that that's a legal arm of any of our government. And the fact that they're saying you can't gather, you have the right to gather, absolutely.
Yeah, the right to congregation. I understand that.
They're saying you can't go to church. You can't go to mosque. It's Ramadan. You can't celebrate your holidays as a Jew, a Muslim, or a Christian. Like, they have a lot on their side, but you're 100% right. They look like a bunch of goofballs. And even worse, they look like a bunch of off the chain, Pomeranians. Like, They just look wrong, and we overcompensate with optics because everything we get is visual. From TV on down, from TV to the internet to everything. How many people are actually going to read what any of them said? How many people are going to sit through a live stream and listen to what was being said? Like,
but I don't see the discipline in the organization on behalf of those groups.
yeah.
And I'm not gonna say that I have done hardcore research on it, right?
And yeah,
but the level of
you got people screaming in cops' faces. The discipline is only looking on one side. The discipline is only visible on one side, and it's sad to say that it is the police. But in Virginia,
and again, I would love to see that discipline
on our side.
when the person doing the screaming,
yeah, is a kid with a toy gun or somebody who just ran a stoplight or something. Yeah, and that's my point. Like, the power that is gathering and continues to gather, and it will only gather speed with these measures. The surveillance state, the aggressive policing, and all that, it doesn't get less. It doesn't decrease when you're telling people that the threat is that serious. So the optics of white men with machine guns or assault rifles or whatever, it scares the shit out of a lot of people. And it will. But then our natural inclination is to say something needs to be done. And then what do? We draft in another law. And then how is it enforced? It's not enforced against the people that scared you in the first place. It's enforced against us. Right. So I'm in Baltimore. Yesterday was the first day of the flight of the spy plane. 3 years after the riots in 2015, without permission of the city, without the council, or at least without quote unquote their knowledge, spy planes flew over Baltimore and did all kinds of research without permission, without acknowledgement from the public, and now they're just bringing it back, and they're going to continue. They didn't ask. There was no actual vote. It's just an extension of the surveillance state. It's an extension of power for the police and for the government. And you're going to see a whole lot more of that. They've got drones floating around in Massachusetts and different places like that. And it's sad, because all they have to do is scare you a little bit, and then we just keep saying, keep us safe, keep us safe.
Right. The fear drives it. I mean, and the other thing is that, okay, let's say that other demographics show up with guns at the state capitol and stuff and confront the groups that have been protesting. Well, that's just an escalation, right? Like,
yep.
That's not going to make it any better. And here's my thing. Like, I understand what you're saying about as far as there's no laws that say they can do that shit. I mean, but there is some provisions for emergency powers, but they're supposed to be temporary, right? And
sure.
The other thing, I mean, if you just think about Eisenhower calling in the National Guard to desegregate the schools, right?
Sure.
Like, he totally put his dick on states' rights when he did that, right? But sure. That wasn't necessarily a bad thing, right? But it was exercised correctly.
Exactly. He was enforcing a law.
Right. And the other thing is that I think that's the danger as well, is that there are groups in power that will use this situation to power grab, right?
Yeah.
For sure. Power brokers will use any situation to power grab.
Yeah.
This is how it works. And like right now, our government, our Congress, it benefits the power grabbers. Like, guys, I feel like I'm going to come out with COVID-19 just like ready to, just like the system has to go. The whole thing got to go in the trash. Like, the Constitution is not that fucking amazing.
It's not working.
Do better.
Okay,
It's
but
not
what was it
working.
that Jefferson said, right? It should be, redone every 75 years or some shit like that, right?
Yeah, and like
Let's look at this thing again.
I agree because we just even for it to work, even if you just look at that document and you say, hey, let's do a hard reset, even for it to work, you need a stronger pushback on what people are capable of doing in the government. And I don't see that with our population. And that's why I don't really. It's funny. I can list all my complaints with the government, but at the end of the day, I always bring back accountability to us and what we have to do in our personal lives to improve and to strengthen ourselves. I don't see anything. I'm not going to change what Trump or Congress or any of the people who've been in power for 40 years do. You know, that's their nature. It's like you said, power grabbers are going to grab, and that's exactly what we see every time. So I think it was even Obama who said, never let a good crisis go to waste, you know? Like,
Jesus Christ.
you can't.
This discussion reminds me of a quote from when I was in college. I studied this guy, Richard Rorty, who's, even though he's dead now, and he's still one of the most, basically he's a very newer philosophy, because obviously everything in philosophy is really old.
Right.
But there's a quote that he had where he basically predicts Trump, right? So what the point that you were making is that that it's not really about Trump, it's about the shit that allowed him to happen, right?
Yeah.
Let's take a look at this.
If we aren't obsessed with, MTV Cribs and Kim Kardashian's ass, do we let Trump become president the same way or the same time? If we have a stronger schooling or a stronger, placement for our kids into ways that'll help direct their lives, do we let the same things happen?
Right.
So
this is what he said. This is what he said real quick, Chuck. I don't mean to cut you off.
okay, go ahead.
Members of labor unions and unorganized, unskilled workers will sooner or later realize that their government is not even trying to prevent wages from sinking or to prevent jobs from being exported. Around the same time, they will realize that suburban white-collar workers, themselves desperately afraid of being downsized, are not going to let themselves be taxed to provide social benefits for anyone else. At that point, something will crack. The non-suburban electorate will decide that the system has failed and start looking for a strong man to vote for, someone willing to assure them that once he is elected, the smug bureaucrats, tricky lawyers, overpaid bond salesmen, and postmodernist philosophers will no longer be calling the shots. And that is exactly what Trump tapped into, even though he's one of those smug bureaucratic.
Yeah.
Right.
I've been watching him for 30 years, 40 years, just do his thing.
You were going to say, Chuck?
Well, just to add on, and like the scary part, the terrifying part is that like Trump's not even good at it. Like if there's a guy who was good at it, oh my God.
Well, I mean, that's...
If Trump can whip them up in this frenzy, could you imagine someone who was like good,
like an operator, like an Obama? Well, I mean, that's why, if anything else, one of my favorite things about all this is the way he'll stumble into a room and knock over the set of dominoes that these fucking scumbags have been setting up in the dark for 30, 40 years. And then we're all like, oh my God, I can't believe Trump did that. And they're like, oh yeah, Trump did that. And you're like, this guy's been in Congress since the 70s. This jackass just got drunk and tripped over the ottoman and knocked everything down. Thank God he did. Like,
Dude, when you said tripped over the ottoman, I had that Dick Van Dyke opening.
Yeah, when he walks in the room, and then he just flips over, and she's like, "Oh, oh." He's got that ability, and you know that's why on the right they call it 4D chess. They act like he's this super genius. Because everything he fucks up, he makes it look like he's done intentionally, and I'm like, thank God he sucks at this.
There's a lot of third-rate P.T. Barnum to his ass, right?
I love it. I love P.T. Barnum. I posted something about Alex Jones today, and Sergio, my boss, was like, he's a liar and an idiot. And I'm like, okay, do you go to the circus and yell at the clowns? Like, what's your problem, man? It's not a big fucking deal. You get pissed off when the ballerina does a pirouette? Like, Alex Jones, Trump, who on the other side? Like, nobody on the other side's as good as these guys are at it. But, like, guys like that, guys like the guy on
I would
Vice.
say Rose McGowan is definitely in that category.
Oh, but she's actually crazy.
No, she's
definitely like there was a point where like it was an act and then she just lost it. Like she I don't think she knows where the rail car's going. She doesn't know. She's straight up nuts. Like I used to like Rose McGowan a lot. All her movies were pretty great, but
she has had a fucked up life.
She definitely and yeah, I feel for her because honestly all that stuff coming out of Hollywood, I was like, there's real pain here. A lot of it's pretty misdirected. A lot of it will probably never be resolved. I don't think for a second that the people responsible.
Well, Brett Ratner hasn't made a movie in a long time.
Oh, well, that's one for the audience, not for anybody else. I forgot about Brett Ratner. What's his last shitty movie?
Well, he was. It was the Jackie Chan, Chris Tucker joint.
Yeah, it was another Rush Hour. Like Rush Hour.
That's all that motherfucker has, man.
That's all he had. The first one was beautiful. It was a great movie, but yeah. And then what is it? Weinstein? Did he get out because of COVID or what?
No,
I don't think so.
Good for him.
Dude, there's so many people in prison, especially the white collar guys, that even Pharma Bro, Shrekley, Shkreli, still sitting on that Wu-Tang album.
I love that guy so much.
That guy is such a grade A piece of shit. He tried to use the COVID. He was like, oh, I could find a cure.
I mean, dude,
he's the fucking worst.
He was so bad, but I'm like, you can't knock his resume. He found shit. He was like, yeah, I found this thing, and I'm gonna sell it for $5,000 a pop. You guys can't do it, so what do you want? Let's go. You want this? Let's do it. But the best is there are pictures of him and Kim Jong-un's sister. They're the same fucking dude. You need to pull it up.
Comparison.
You need to pull up Kim Jong-un's sister and Shkreli. They're the same dude. Down to the forehead swoop and it's the same thing. I bet you there's a side-by-side out there already.
Okay. What's
I see it already.
It's something young. It's something.
So let's get this image up first.
Yeah. Yeah, you see it already? You see?
I see it already.
And you said Kim Jong-un's sister, right?
Yeah, something Jong-young. Kim Jong-un. Yeah.
Damn, that was the second. Oh wow.
Look at that.
Okay, so this is gonna be a good comparison here.
That's the one right there. Same.
Wow, dude,
Same.
you called that shit.
It's not just me. I posted it And then after I posted it, I looked it up, and there's like everybody's saying the same shit. Look at him! Look at him!
Look at this shit.
That's like a split fucking zygote. That's the same fucking baby.
They even wear the same clothes.
I know, they got the same suits and everything.
She looks like a Stone Cold Killer.
She does,
Yeah,
and everybody
I'm more
was
afraid
clapping.
of her than I am of him.
Yeah. Yeah, Kim Jong-un's out here fucking his 2,000 North Korean whores.
Well, like first he was in a coma, and then he was dead, and then he's knee deep in the poon.
He fucked himself back to life.
Sexual healing. But, dude, look at those eyes. Those eyes say, "Why the fuck you even taking a picture of me right now? I can kill your family."
Yeah, there's already a gun trained on whoever took that picture. They didn't make it up. You know, but then she saw the pic. She's like, "Oh, they got my good side." Please, you published that.
Wow, dude, that is just
She looks like she's been through some shit. Because there's a picture of her young, and there's color in her face, and her hair is like not as thin as it was, and she looks like a happy little kid, you know?
Well, let's check that. Let's see if we can find a happy picture. Oh, that one doesn't look good.
Even her happy is terrifying.
Oh, dude, look at this one right here.
You know, I killed father.
What the fuck is that on the side of her eye?
Right? It's like a skin tag or something.
Yeah. I don't know what that is. But that's where he hit her with the fucking nightstick.
Yeah. Sibling rivalry means somebody got shot.
I mean, he did kill his other brother very publicly in the airport.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
What is this anime comparison here?
That's her running with her lunch back in her mouth. It's like a toast or something. She's just like, oh, cute little anime dictator, you know? You know the Japanese eat that up. They have so many fucked up anime stories.
Oh, of course. Of course.
But yeah, it's a trip. Because the thing that cracked me up is as soon as they thought Kim Jong-un was dead, and this is why I say I don't trust anybody at all.
Look how she just
What
like,
is she peeking around corners for?
what are those motherfuckers doing?
That's some Pink Panther shit. But it was astounding to me how many people were like, North Korea's got a female leader before America. What a shame. And I'm like, wait a minute. That's through nepotism and possible murder. That's not how we should be transitioning power. You know, that's a dictator's sister. And what do you think North Korea's gonna get? Another dictator. It's not.
Yeah, we don't want her.
Yeah. She's not like secretly Betty Crocker over here. She's not gonna come out with Gandhi's platform on like human principles.
Yo,
dude, she is scarier than Pence in this picture.
Oh,
I fucking hate that guy.
Robo Race Bannon.
Oh my god.
He looks like Race Bannon from the fucking Johnny
totally
Quest.
Like, the guy from Johnny Quest.
Yeah, he just needs a red shirt, some silver pants.
Hold on a second, we got to do that side by side comparison.
Look at him. They built him in a fucking lab.
Yo, he's the fucking worst. He calls his wife mother.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
Look at him.
Look
at him.
Same.
Same motherfucker.
Even down to the mouth.
Look at him. Oh my God, they built him thinking of race.
And the funny thing is whenever he's trying to explain shit away from Trump, he's always like, oh, he didn't mean to say that. What he really meant was this, and it's just like, dude, the mental gymnastics.
Oh, it's, and that's the thing. That's why I hate this whole tribalism kick, because that's what everyone's doing. Everyone's sitting there trying to make sure their side comes out looking good, and you're like, hey, there's dirt on the floor. Why don't we just clean it up? You're all a bunch of scumbags. We've allowed this to go on for so long that it's an abusive relationship, and we're apologizing for our own black eyes. Like, it's messed up.
But I'm just gonna add this really quick. Like, we can't with a straight face say the scumbaggery is equal. It's not equal scumbag.
Oh, I can, and I do.
Like, no. I am with you. Scumbags aplenty.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But we could like stand firm that there's a side with more evil people.
I don't think so.
But it's a difference of degree, right?
I think it's a difference of exposure.
No, I feel like these guys have, like, during this pandemic, these guys have come out and said as so much, I do not care about you poor people. We care zero about you. We will put it in words what our actions have said over and over again.
I prefer that.
Texas come
I know
out
where I
saying,
stand.
sacrifice your life for the economy.
Well, let's straighten out what the economy is. The economy is people working and sustaining themselves. So going back to work, to me, isn't a bad thing. I've been at work. We haven't stopped. And like, to think that there was a possibility that I can't take care of myself, fuck that. I would be pissed off too. And that's why our conversation with optics, it's irrelevant what these hoo-has, these idiots are doing at the State House, because the rest of people just want to give themselves the option of not going into further debt, not being unable to feed their family and do that stuff. But the benefit of, what you're saying and the people on that side is at least we know where we stand. Every time somebody says they're helping me out in the government, I have to take a fat grain of salt and actually look at what's going on. Because those people who are always saying that they're on your side, that they represent you, they're the ones who stick it in your back and twist it as hard as they can.
I want to get, I hear you on that. I can, even if I'm not riding with it, I can hear that.
Right.
I want to go back to, like, who has to go to work and who doesn't have to go to work.
Yeah.
And when you look at who's dying and who has to go to work, that shit drives up.
We've exposed what has been obvious to a lot of people anyway, the huge class divide. The people at home complaining and, like, putting their memes up and learning how to do sourdough. We got to do it again
for the class divide, John.
Yeah.
Because like, don't get me wrong, there's tons of Democrats that are fucking totally bought out, right?
Shit monsters, scumbags.
Right. But
let's
look at the 20th century in the last 100 years, right? Look at the scoreboard, right? Like, Nixon, Ford was useless, fucking Reagan was complaining about crack babies, and then he was funding the crack in South and Central LA through fucking Noriega, right? In the CIA. Like, fucking Bush 1's totally suspect. Bush 2, we've already covered that. I don't think we need to do anything. You know what I mean? Like, if you look at the track record, there's way more fucking Republican presidents that are some shit. And I'm not saying that Democratic presidents aren't some shit. I think part of the reason with Obama is people thought he was way more liberal than he actually was.
Bro,
that guy was a constitutional scholar. He was a centrist all the way.
Joe, all of them are shit because they have to uphold American policy, and America is shit. We are
Yes.
shit.
But
So
again,
the
I think it's a difference of degree, right? Like, okay, let's look at scandals, right? Like,
Real quick, do we go for another round?
gotta
it's up
go.
to you guys. I got more beer, so I know I'm good.
I gotta go kick it with my wife.
All right, man. Hey, Chuck, it was a great show. I hope you come back, man.
Yeah, definitely. It was good talking to you. It
Yeah.
was good talking to you, man.
This was probably our most civil. We probably got the most done in this last
No, we
hour.
got deep. We got deep.
Yeah.
I'm learning. Everybody is not shit. And
Right.
but I think you were just reasonable. You have reasonable points.
You're
But
lucky I'm not drinking.
I'm usually not so civil because I'm tired of hearing that. I'm tired of hearing the bullshit.
Yeah.
Like I've the bullshit and the noise. Yeah, I think I straight up think the GOP is evil. Like in my heart, evil. Strong word, capital E.
I wish we'd started with that.
Yeah. They
But
don't
let's
care.
not get it twisted. John
You know
is
what?
John is a libertarian, not a Republican.
I know,
There's a
I know.
difference.
I know for sure.
Right.
For sure. But the Venn diagram get a little funky.
You should also know I'm just a comedian at heart. I just love watching the shit show. It's hilarious to me.
Well, but also a
This is a
skeptic,
shit show
right?
of epic proportions.
It's cosmic.
Straight up, it's cosmic, bro.
And that's the thing. Like everybody, I get tripped up because everybody wants to talk about the specifics of things, and I think I try to examine human nature a little bit more. So when I'm talking about government, the specifics of it are important. You can't get away from that. You can't get away from the specific deeds being done. But I do really wish we'd started talking about that a little bit earlier because, like, for me, when I don't even really classify myself like as a libertarian who would vote for a libertarian because they have who's running right now. It's Justin Amash, and I don't have much more hope for him than any other candidate. You know, he's coming in.
But he's still better than most of what the libertarians have fielded before, right?
No, he's like, as far as candidates go, he's the best. He's the most viable candidate that they've ever fielded. The Bill Weld is a fucking disgrace, and they fielded him twice, and it's just like a joke party. I've watched some of their committee meetings where it's like, there's one where a naked guy just ran across the stage, and like, you know, libertarians, nobody said shit. They're just like, hey man, he's free to swing that thing around. And it's like,
it's not like he was bad positionally, but he wasn't viable, right?
I think it was both. I think he was a fake ass. You know, he didn't have any respect for the principles of, like, you know, and that's what I mean. I think you shouldn't worry about what your banner is, and you should probably worry about what the foundation of your house is. And like,
yes,
I think it's easier to do as an individual than as a Democrat or as a Republican when you're trying to not only uphold what you believe, but what the group is supposed to represent, when the group can have such, you know, disgusting goals at hand. You know, like Reagan doing what he did. Like, how much of that did he even know towards the end? How much of
he
it
didn't know shit. At least,
you know?
Not in the last year and a half. I mean, it's pretty well accepted historical knowledge that, like, you know, Nancy was kind of like, but it was no different for Wilson, right? Like, they kept it a secret that Wilson was in bed, right?
And it's not just us. We get so myopic with American history, but you just look throughout history, how many de facto leaders have been in just figureheads? How many people have actually just made that deal? They're like, I'll be the face of it, but I don't want to have anything to do with it.
Well, with
you know?
Reagan, what was so revolutionary is that he was always a face, right? Like his
From
biographer
the start.
spent like something like 8 to 10 years with him, and he said he never saw him drop the facade ever.
Yeah. So it's like there was him, or the first guy who won because of his face, but probably had more principles than any politician that we have now. And I'm not deep on the history of JFK, but the guy had a platform. He was getting things done. He was changing things. He was scaring the shit out of people.
His fucking brains
and they
out.
blew his brains out. And then you have
just because he was Catholic,
you know, and then you come all the way down to we're actually auditioning for political, you know, candidates to AOC and all of the, what do they call the what is it? It's Liberty Progressive, something like that's the name of her organization. But like, yeah, they know what they want. They're gonna position it the way they want it. You're gonna be a mouthpiece, and they know, you know, how you're kind of the Manchurian candidate of all it. And like, we've just the bleeding between like reality and what is, you know, being sold to us. You know, with Instagram, you have people whose brand is themselves. With Twitter, your brand is yourself, and all this stuff.
In some
where,
sense, Kennedy was the beginning of that, right? The Nixon
and that's what I'm saying.
Kennedy debates, right?
That is the biggest one. And I've watched. You go back and watch that, and it's funny to think that's revolutionary because he's just as stiff and as boring as, you know, to our standards. Nobody would have sat through
that.
Had a
cold, right? Because the people that listened to Nixon on the radio thought he won.
Yeah,
right.
Because you're listening
that saw
to
him on TV were like,
"Who's this?"
He's almost Edwardian sickly, right?
Yeah, and like it's black and white, so you got all these pallid colors anyway. You see, you know, Nixon's older. He's stooped. He's probably a little bit shorter than JFK, which kind of surprised me.
He had the hunched shoulders, right?
Yeah, but he's got the hunched shoulders and all that stuff. And the thing that reminded me of that and why I actually watched it again, because I'd never watched it in my life, was because when Trump and Hillary were going at it, they kept talking about health and who was healthier, and they're saying, "Oh, Trump isn't going to make it through this election," and then there was all the stuff circling around Hillary, and she was getting dizzy spells and all this other shit. And now we have Biden, who, you know, besides being Bill Cosby, he's just sick. Like, you can't watch.
But let me address that, because there's a lot of people that on social media that are like, "Oh, okay, he's got dementia," and there's all this like fucking armchair fucking diagnosis shit.
And yeah,
that's bullshit, because one, he's always been gaffe prone. Two.
Yep.
He's a fucking lifelong struggler with stuttering. You know what I mean? Like, give the guy 5 seconds to get his shit together.
Nope.
You know what I mean?
No, this is the big leagues.
Well, again,
and you
optics,
think,
right?
And it's not even that. It's like you're being softballed at every turn, and he's still fucking up.
True.
What happens when you put him in the ring with that fucking gorilla, with Mr. Orange? He's going to sit on you and just beat your face in.
Right. Well, he's already been doing that. Sleepy Joe, right?
That's him going easy. He doesn't have to say anything, and I think he's really smart with that. When he goes hard, he knows when and how. And right now, he doesn't have to say anything. He's brought up the allegations, but he really doesn't have to hit that home.
Well, but at the other time, Trump has also been off his game because, and part of the reason why he ended the daily briefings is because he was fucking up big time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because here's the thing: is his shenanigans worked while the economy was good, right?
Yeah.
But now that the economy doesn't, and he doesn't have any real answers, and he's just the riffage. It doesn't work in a crisis, right?
It doesn't, and you can't respond to everything, and especially when you don't have the kind of information that gives you any kind of upper hand. It doesn't help to respond to everything. So every time, like the time with the
right, but he's only got like those 2 or 3 plays in the playbook, right?
Well, yeah, but one of the biggest plays to do is just not to do anything, and I think he does that pretty intelligently when he wants to, but his nature isn't to sit back, as we know.
Yeah, but it doesn't work, right? Like Stephanie Grisham has been the press secretary ever since Huckabee Sanders left, right? She's never held
She only
a press
came
conference.
in 2 days. This is her second day.
What's that?
This is her second day.
Grisham?
Yeah, she's brand spanking new because they didn't have anybody. They just didn't have anybody there, and they realized that that's an important position, and the fact that
now that when it matters, right? Like before,
Yeah.
it didn't matter.
yeah, the fact is, like, they had made it this vaudeville act with all of the guys up there antagonizing the press and doing their best Trump impressions, and she's actually been able to. I think she's still doing that shit, but she's dimmed it down, and we'll see what the next few weeks are going to be, because if they can actually err on the side of seriousness and get people information they need, that could be the worst thing for Joe Biden. Like,
Yeah, but it's not going to happen because part of their deal is the reason, in some sense, because here's what happened, right? Like Fox News was on his side until the deaths started piling up. Then their reporters started asking questions. So then Trump started attacking Fox News reporters in the same fashion that he was attacking CNN and MSNBC reporters and calling them fake news.
Yeah.
So now, Fox News is not going to be on the side of death, right? So
I don't think they have to be anymore at this point. I think
they have questions. Those questions aren't getting answered, even from Fox News. And I'm not just talking Chris Wallace, right? Like, they've all flip-flopped, even all the commentary guys.
It's like I said at the beginning. I think there's real blame on the side of the media. There's real blame in this administration. There's blame in larger bodies. I have only terrible things to say about the WHO, CDC, and all these agencies that were supposed to be on top of it. But I also think now, to make up for lost time, they just literally just tried to scare the shit out of populations when, accurate reporting would do better. And I don't think any of that really gets disseminated from the top down. If you really wanted to get good information, you're in your states, you're in your cities, report where you need to report. And for a guy like me, the only reason I joined Twitter was to get plugged into what's going on in Baltimore. And local politics and local execution of those policies and stuff. And the fuckery doesn't stop at that level. I've been following these journalists, and way back in the end of February, there was a guy who was saying that nobody is allowed to report in nursing homes. And I was like, so how are we supposed to get firsthand knowledge? And he's
just
like,
have to trust what they say, right?
and that's exactly what he said. And I just laughed and laughed and laughed on the next tweet. And then I got mobbed by all these, like, little, what would you even know? Why do you want to know this?
Oh, dude,
blah,
but that's
blah.
the thing, dude. I got a Twitter account only like 4 or 5 days ago, right?
Yeah.
And it's purely for my job.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna post anything. It's just so I don't have to constantly go to the webpage and have them be like, "Do you want to sign in?" You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's all it's for. But it's a fucking dumpster fire, dude.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I get to fight with everybody all the fucking time. Because, the way that
the hate makes you stronger, right?
It's just like, it's like mud wrestling and demo derby, and it's everything that social media used to be until they sanitized the whole fucking thing. And it's still like, they're still like closing in the doors. But like the end of that conversation was, I was like, so they're journalists, and we're just supposed to get the press briefings from the governor and just get that fed to us? Yeah. What if I was a Ben Jealous supporter and I deeply distrust Governor Hogan? Why should I believe anything he says? What if I'm a Hogan supporter, but I think he's handling this wrong. Like, what if what he's saying doesn't mesh with what's going on?
Well, I think he was early on some of the measures, and okay,
he was good for optics.
It's been a little stentorian, right? And the way that he's gone at, the way that Baltimore has been treated in comparison to the rest of the state,
yeah,
I can see what you're saying. But at the same time, numbers are good. I mean, death numbers, not politics numbers.
No, I mean, but death numbers, they're not good. Because if we're talking about death...
Compared to the rest of the states?
Compared to the rest of the states, because the thing that everybody knows is the places that are most at risk are nursing homes. Mm-hmm. He didn't do anything that particularly addressed that. And we've still got all the numbers that are coming out everywhere are deaths at nursing homes. I've been watching, even in Sweden, the place where everyone's saying that it's the worst. I learned a lot by reading about what's going on there. And their nursing homes are death camps, basically. And they're trying.
But part of that isn't necessarily a failure of them running it. Part of
it's
it
not.
Is that the virus is survivable for most people that are healthy, right? But if you have other medical conditions, you're more likely to die from it. Right?
It's a knock on your door with a scythe. But the thing I didn't know about Swedish nursing homes is there's basically hospice care.
Right.
So you're because the Swedish don't have a tradition for dumping their elders in conditions like that. Mm-hmm. They don't have the same tradition that we do. So it's not going to be like younger old people. It's people who are basically at death's door and need a comfortable place to go die. And so the way this hit, there was almost literally nothing they could do. There's almost nothing you can do because wherever they were, those people were going to get hit. And the numbers do reflect that.
It wasn't particular to their policy. It was particular to the fact that older people are vulnerable, right?
Older people are vulnerable. People in groups are vulnerable. Older people in groups, see you later. Like, that's just how it's going to go. So I look at it like that. I think that there are things he could have done differently. The stuff with the tests, like he got a lot of good press because he bought a bunch of tests from South Korea. And now it's like he hasn't administered them. There's some people saying that he can't, like they don't have the ability to administer them. And he just came out with a big thing yesterday. And my dad's convinced it's an element of Trump. And he's saying that, oh, we have to hide these so that the federal government doesn't steal them, which is viable. But I also think that he might have fucked up and he's got to keep face because it's like you're saying, he's the nation's darling right now. He's on The View. He's on The Daily Show. He's everywhere. 2024, you're going to see that motherfucker run for president. Like, it's as simple as that. And like, but at the same time, I don't even know how we got there. I just like the fact that anybody questioning the authority. This isn't even a government official. This is just a journalist who I was talking with online. I said, hey, I said, hey, you might want to actually put your boots on and go find out what the fuck is going on if you really want to keep calling yourself a journalist. And then I've got Karens coming out the woodwork saying, you know, you just need to trust they know what's best for us.
Jesus, fuck that.
You're the same woman that would tear this guy down when he's running against Ben Jealous. You're the same people that are calling him all stars because he's a Republican, and now I'm just supposed to trust him?
Yeah, I mean, Ben Jealous has a pretty good track record, but it's beyond that. It's like, okay, so without getting into the details, there was a news story that came up on Facebook, and I merely asked a question.
Oh, and you got dogpiled?
No, I'm talking about, I didn't espouse a point of view. I merely asked, I was like, I want to know more about your position. Tell me how you arrived at your position. Yeah. And the response was you're a piece of shit. Like nobody's responsible for educating you. And I'm like, look, I've read about it, but that doesn't mean that just because I read about it is fucking comprehensive. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, part of being open-minded means you ask people questions, because
that's the whole part. You ask questions.
Yeah. There's no way that even if I did all the reading that I'm going to arrive at the exact same viewpoint as somebody else. That's just fucking, that's anti-thought, you know?
Yeah. That the two phrases I hate the most of this whole thing is trust the science and new normal. Because I could have plucked both of those fucking things out of a Ray Bradbury book or some goddamn Isaac Asimov.
True.
You know, just to creep myself out before I go to sleep. But like,
yeah,
what they're basically saying is like, it's out of our hands, which I get that. If you can acknowledge that, then take control of the things that you do control and do ask
like
questions.
A reporter is never fucked up. I mean, yes, okay, they function as the sentinels, but you know, you got to watch.
Oh no, they don't. They're the mouthpieces now.
Yeah, I mean, you got to watch. Juvenile, right? You got to watch the Watchmen. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Bringing it back, I think that, you know, we briefly touched on the tribalism of it, and I think that has been brewing in non black and white political terms.
It was always there.
It was always there, but in the last 20 years, it's grown, and it's gotten ridiculous, because the same way that people were treating you for asking about what is an actual, you know, like life and death situation.
This is within my own tribe too, right?
And
like,
that's what I mean. So like, we started seeing it a couple years ago with, you know, trans people and how gay people were treating each other, and how women were treating each other when they disagreed, and how black people were treating each other when they disagreed. And and the common denominator is A, people are usually shitty to each other, and B, social media is not really always an avenue for real discussion.
Well, it's just like, there's part of the thing that it's like, you know, tone doesn't come through in writing. It's like, sometimes you can write a lightly critiquing email and that shit'll come off like you're an asshole. Right?
Yeah. I'm guilty of that all the time, because like, I'll try and, it's like you said, you try and ask a question and somebody's like, who's this dipshit? Who's this fucker who has the balls to question me?
Right. It's so true.
And you're like, listen, man, without that information, nothing gets done. I don't know what you want me to do, but like, I don't know it. Like, I don't read minds, and I don't know it.
The anonymity of it, right? It's the anonymity of it.
Yeah, Twitter's the only place I'm anonymous, and Twitter's also the only place where I get to actually, like, you know, if I really want to be a piece of shit, I could tear you down. But like with Facebook, I it's like judo. You're sitting there and you're like, you're all my friends. I don't want to rip you apart. I don't want to have a slugfest on the internet here, but I do want to get in your head a little bit and see why when we talk, you never bring this stuff up, and then online you're like flying this flag like it's crazy. Right. Like you're at the head of the column, you know? And a lot of people, I was actually dating a girl, and she was like, she saw some of my activity online, and she was like, why do you do that? I was like, the internet is for blood sport. It's for debate, and it's for this. You're supposed to sit here and like pick at people and like have conversations you can't normally have with people you don't normally engage with. And she's like, it's not for that. And I'm like, then what is it for? And she basically said something like, you know, you're just supposed to post things you like and like be positive. And I'm like, yeah, okay.
Oh, get out of here. That's some poly.
Like, okay. I guess there was a bit of an age difference, because before 2010,
pigtails raised up and she floated off into the sky, right?
Yeah, she sprouted wings too. Pixie dust. Yeah, before 2010, there was like I came home once to my friend on Xbox 360, Xbox Online, and he's yelling at a 12-year-old in England. He's standing up in the middle of the room going, "I'm not a fucking Muppet. You're a fucking Muppet. Why don't you go get your mom? Because I'm going to fuck her in the ass." Ah! And you're like, yeah, that's the internet I know.
No, but it was funny. I was just talking to my buddy Tomas, who we had on the show that got lost.
Yeah,
right. Like he's like, dude, I tried to play PUBG for a while, and he's like, people are saying things to me that I would like beat their ass in real life.
Yeah.
And I was just like, dude, that's the first person shooter chat is the worst.
Yeah. There's got to be.
You don't know this, Tomas? Like,
yeah.
I've been on this since Quake. Like, I'm well aware of the disaffected, possible school shooter that's on fucking first person shooters. Like,
there's got to be a level of hell where everything you said you were gonna do to another person happens to you. Like, you go to hell, and everything you said online starts happening to you. It's got to be like the 7th or 8th circle of hell. It's not quite the 9th, but it's like all the shit you talk starts happening to you in a major way and repetitively, and you have to like square up with all the times you said, I'm gonna kill your mom and all that shit. Like, it's gonna be fucked up.
Like, people were shocked when PewDiePie said drop the N-word, and I'm like, dude, look at the fucking guy. He's this fucking teenager from, like, the Netherlands or something.
Swedish or whatever it is.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, you didn't expect that out of that guy? Like,
he's a millionaire at 23.
Yeah.
Like, he lives online. He doesn't have... And actually, he's probably pretty reasonable, but, like, they call it the gamer word now. It's not even the N-word. It's just the gamer word because it gets used. I hear that from two groups: people online and people in the street. And it's never out of. I guess sometimes it is out of hate, but it's never something that the person saying it will acknowledge. It's just second nature from them. It goes
back to the whole, I'm on the internet, what are you gonna really do?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. But then...
It's speech without consequence.
Yeah. But now there is consequence. They're banning people. They're ruining people's lives and stuff. And I think that takes it far.
Right?
Well, swatting scares the shit out of me. But, like, I'm talking about, like, how... We're talking about extreme measures being taken because of Corona. But, like, the censorship and, like, people pushing back... They're using it as any excuse to get into these groups. And like the ADL just sued Stream yesterday. Stream, the game provider. They just sell games. But they're saying that games are avenue for toxic and hateful rhetoric and activities.
Well, what else is new?
And that's what I mean. It's like, okay, so you're saying that at most...
They're worried about that when 4chan is out there, like.
Well, they've been trying to get 4chan, and they're just not good enough. 4chan is just not good enough. But like the ADL is coming after Stream, and they're saying because any portion of discussion is towards hate speech, that the whole thing needs to go down. And it's not like it's not an idle threat. I know they'll sue them, but like it also means that Stream will try and make changes that'll make it less democratic and less
as it becomes
fair.
more corporate, right? Like Amazon bought Twitch, right?
Yeah.
And even you suggested D-Live to me for the DJing, right? But
yeah.
even though they're blockchain encrypted, they're still like you can't.
There's still some heavy-handed shit. You missed out. Like two years ago, there was a platform called Stream.me. And that was total Wild West. You could do whatever the fuck you wanted. And people said whatever they wanted. They could stream whole movies and nobody cared. It was totally blockchain. Their problem was...
All that's left to me is OnlyFans.
That's we might have to go there, man. I was thinking about it. I was like, would it be a fucking trip if we just read like literary classics on OnlyFans to see if we can make a...
Oh, Bennett would love that.
I would love that.
I would love to hear Moby Dick in Bennett's southern drawl.
Oh, get Bennett a smoking jacket and like
and a pipe, yeah.
A pipe and a nice high back chair. Bring him up into fucking this
fucking
house in Baltimore.
Masterpiece Theater.
Oh, I would love it. I would love to hear the fucking thoughts head spin when they start getting outflanked by these fucking crazy dudes who are reading like Tale of Two Cities.
Can read like banned library books.
Oh, I love that. I'm actually gonna write a story about Invisible Man. I didn't realize how little people knew what that book was. It's literally my favorite book, and
I mean, it's just so condensed. It's so there's not a single layer of fat in that story.
Yeah, not a
like
wasted
Dr.
word.
Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Yeah,
and you know, Nabokov wrote the intro to the Dr. Jekyll, and he's like, "Look, man," he's like, "This is aside from Murder in the Rue Morgue, this is the detective story." You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and Invisible Man has that element too, because. What's interesting about it, and I'll just throw it out there to you, since you know the work. There's really no good people in it. You know what I mean? Like what is it? What is the Invisible Man's name? Hawthorne or Holly or something?
the college.
Yeah, the guy that's the Invisible Man. He's a piece of shit, right? But the way Wells describes all the rest of the townspeople, they're not any better.
We're talking about different Invisible Men. I'm talking about Ellison. Ralph
you're
Ellison.
talking about Ellison? Oh, shit.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's a great book.
I've also read that one, too.
Yeah.
And that's a brutal work. That is a brutal work, man.
I love it because... And it's like you're saying, like there are some books that just needed... They're just perfect books. I don't think that, you know, if there's like conduits, they were just like piked in to exist from these people. Like,
well, the way that Ellison describes that boxing match,
the battle royale, yeah,
right? Like, I mean, it's just there's not a single detail in there that you don't know, you know?
Yeah. And it's funny. He said after he wrote it and he was getting all the accolades and the praise, he was saying that the people who understood it most were women. So. Talking about forgotten populations and people who didn't feel like they were being recognized in society.
Well, you know, John Lennon spent the first half of his life as a misogynist, and he was like, women are the N-word of the world, right?
Oh, yeah.
You know?
What a crazy song. Yeah. But that was when he was like trying to figure it all out. And like, you know, I get why he went to Yoko. I get it, you know.
Well, because she was the one that turned him. Look, Yoko gets a lot of shit, but John wanted to leave as early as 65 before he even met her.
Yeah.
He was like, "Motherfuckers, I want out."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I mean, look at that song, "Getting Better." He basically was like, "I used to beat my wife in that song," and it's all like happy. He's like,
and that's the trip about all the Beatles songs. If you're really not listening, you could just let it float over you, and that's the whole point of the books we're talking about. You can let and even this whole conversation, you can let the top layer be the only layer that you interact with. Mm-hmm. You can let superficiality be the only thing that dictates your actions, and you can probably get away with it to a point.
Do you have the courage to go deeper?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Dion Cole has a whole bit about that. He's like, y'all in relationships, you need to ask your questions deeper. Like if a girl asks a man, like, "Do you live with your mama?" He's like, "Go deeper. Does your mama live with you?"
Yeah. Yeah.
It's funny, but it's true.
Yeah. And I think, you know, all the things we talked about today, that was kind of the thing. If we're really going to have opinions about things, it's one thing to have an opinion. Everybody has an opinion. I can create an opinion like that. You can show me two things. I can tell you which one I like better than the other one.
Do you have the courage to let your opinions be challenged?
Yeah, and to actually go do some research and see what else is available. Just because you put two things in front of me doesn't mean there aren't 68 other things around. Be like, hey, I'd like you to choose a fruit, and then you show me two fruit. That doesn't encompass all of the fruit that are out there.
Right.
It doesn't encompass all of your options that are out there.
But the other thing is that if you really believe in something, then you should welcome the challenge, because the contrary opinion will, almost like a sharpening stone to a knife.
Yeah.
Right? Like it lets you mature the thought, right?
Yeah. And that's how, if there's a book, if there's a nonfiction book you want to read that's really good, read Amusing Ourselves to Death, which talks about the role that television, because it was written in the 80s. He didn't write a second one. I really wish he had before he died, about the rest of technology, but you can extrapolate. But basically, the thing that he brings up is the Douglas Lincoln debates.
Mm-hmm.
And these are like all-day events. There's a 3-hour intro with an hour-and-a-half rebuttal and a half-hour second rebuttal. And, you know, these are farmers and craftsmen and laborers, and they're sitting there, and they're smart enough, they're educated enough to understand and to engage with what's going on in front of them.
Well, it's very fascinating that you bring that up, because it's like that's now, just because of that event, is a whole category in debate. Mm-hmm. When they teach it in high schools, right? Like you have the parliamentary debate, you have the policy debate, and then the real motherfuckers are in the Lincoln Douglas, right?
Yeah, but how many of us could actually sit through, and how many politicians could actually speak uninterrupted for an hour, let alone 3 hours, on any policy decision? Could actually like describe 5%. Anything to that degree.
And that's generous. Right?
And yeah, it's laughable to think. I'm not even thinking about the big boys. I'm just trying to think of a Weinstein, what was it? Not Weinstein, like a Pelosi or a Cuomo standing up there for half an hour trying to pull his head out of his ass.
She might be old school enough to pull it off, but not that she would necessarily be good at it. But
no,
it's like you were saying about post Kennedy Nixon debate, is that it's really become about the image.
It's 100%. Like, we're on memes. We're not even on. We used to have clips. We used to have sound bites. It's not even that. You can.
Now
what was it? Howard
memes. It's memes.
Yeah, memes. Howard Dean. Howard Dean destroyed by a weird sound. 2004.
Yeah! And I don't understand it either, because if anything, it should have hyped him up more. But it's just like that's the inherent.
Oh, that's unsettling. Is he going to keep making those noises?
Stupidality.
Yeah. When he's president, is he going to do that in front of the Prime Minister of France? Oh,
I passed a bill. Yeah!
I would fucking love.
That'd be great. It's like as he's signing it, he's like, yeah!
He's got an old school 70s catchphrase. Oh, Howard. Yeah! Yeah! Yeah!
And I think that's a good point to end it, because we're running out of time.
We're running out of time.
So one more time. Let's get a good. Yeah! That's an oldie but goodie.
That is a great one, man. That is a great one.
And this has been yet another ain't shit news that's coming at you with our host, John Kwamya, going deep on us, popping the knowledge. We had special guest Charles Lamar on. He's already had to go take care of the wifey, and I am your sound man and full of shit DJ Two Coats. This will be up probably tomorrow or in the next 2 days. And I have to say, I like how we went deep, bro. We went deep.
Yeah.
Have a good night, John. I'm going to play us out on the theme music here. This has been Ain't Shit News. I hope that you all have enjoyed this deep, deep, deep dive. Kwamya, I'll see you next Saturday, baby.
Yeah, man. Take it easy.
All right, man. Keep sharpening up that libertarian cutting knife of reason.
I'm trying to seduce you all to the dark side, man.
You almost had some converts tonight.
One by one.
All right, one more. Yeah! All right, man. I'll see you, baby.
All right. Peace, dude.